除了加入教育2个字，那也改组为这个基金会的形式，大家比较熟悉，就是 NGO、NPO 的形式。那虽然加入教育2个字，其实我们出去做推广的时候，我们不太常说我们是在做教育工作，因为其实每个人在自己的专业领域都是学有专精，都是我们的前辈，值得学习的对象，所以我们不太说我们出去教育别人，我们要说是我们去推广我们经常在做的工作，然后跟大家做交流。那特别是我们比较熟悉的领域呢，就是查核中心大家比较熟悉的领域，就是在于事实查核的部分，跟我们如何做媒体识读的部分。那今天非常难得的是，我们邀请到了国际级的讲者来跟我们一起分享，在其他的查核组织他们是如何推行这样的工作。那这个场次会由我来主持，那为了不耽误大家的时间，我知道大家 Q&A 的时间提问非常的踊跃，所以我就不再使用英文，因为我刚刚跟讲者先沟通过，我就不再使用英文做这个开场。那我们首先呢，先邀请第一位讲者，我们的来自 Africa Track 的 Lee 来帮我们做第一位的简报，请给他一点掌声，谢谢。
Hello, everyone. Bruce Lee from yesterday. I think most of you remember me. And I am happy again to be speaking to you and also to be coming at the end of what has been a really educative experience for me. My name is Lee. For those of you who think I'm joking when I say my name is Bruce Lee. I am the chief editor of Africa Check, which is a fact-checking organization that is based in South Africa. So in Johannesburg, right? But we also have offices in Nigeria, in Kenya, and in Senegal. And we use these offices to nurture a network of fact-checking organizations that are based around the continent. We have more than 50 fact-checking organizations that are part of the Africa Facts Network, which we have convened, which we have put together so as to share our experiences. Now, I have been asked today to speak about media literacy, right? And I want to say the first thing is I was blown away yesterday by just how much amazing work fact-checking organizations in Taiwan are doing. And the one thing that caught my eye was specifically the part about organizations that are working with the elder generation, right? It tends to be a demographic that is omitted, that is left out. And it's something that we have struggled with in our part of the continent to bridge the gap between reality and what they consume in terms of the media that they have to face every day. So I took away a lot of ideas from yesterday, and really that was brilliant. So I did want to speak about, one, the importance of media literacy. So I'll give you snapshots of our work and also give you a sense of the lessons we've learned and some of the challenges that we face, and probably some of the frontiers that we are expecting to delve into, taking the learnings that we have taken along the way so far. So I think the natural part to start really is a definition of media literacy, right? And media literacy means different things to different people, right? And probably I might make a case later that there needs to be a focus on misinformation literacy as separate from the media literacy we know that is taught in high schools, that is taught in primary schools, even that is taught in universities, right? That has a place in the kind of space that we play in as fact checkers, but I think it doesn't go far enough, but I think probably that's a discussion we can have as the panel goes on, right? But for ourselves as Africa Check, we define media literacy as the constant awareness of the impact of misinformation, right? So it's very important to have that focus of the word misinformation when you're speaking to media literacy. Because I do say, for example, if you ask high schoolers what media literacy is in, if you speak to teachers who are teaching media literacy in high schools, they'll probably want to focus on teaching students how to use various aspects of media devices, right? Ways of going online, or maybe to protect themselves, from cyberbullying or online harassment, right? That would be a natural starting point for most people in secondary schools. You go to universities, then you have professors who are probably more focused on one, the creation of content, whatever kind of content you're dealing with, the creation, or maybe the intersection of media literacy and society, right? Or the theory behind just how the media, rather how information tends to focus, travel or impact or influence society, right? But for us as practitioners in the fact-checking space, we want to speak to media literacy in terms of the skills, the technical ability, the competence for us to be able to teach audiences how to interrogate information critically. So this is why I really did want to highlight the word misinformation. So we define media literacy from a fact-checking point of view as Africa Check, as a constant awareness of the impact of misinformation on democracy, right? And involves equipping audiences with the skills to critically analyze stories that are presented across the various media platforms so as to determine their accuracy and their credibility, right? So we are here because it is, I think, and I like the tagline that we're talking of, global competence, focus on global strategies, right, around fact-checking, global perspectives, right? And so I'm going to give you a sense of how the landscape is in the part of or in our neck of the woods, right? So in Africa, and I did say there are a lot of countries in Africa, more than 50, 55, 56, depends on who you are asking, right? But it is almost a barren landscape, especially when it comes to misinformation literacy, right? So when it comes to media literacy, I spoke, there are some schools that probably teach it, but from the aspect that we are looking at it from practitioners in the fact-checking industry, almost barren, right? And we have spoken to a lot of educators who think there is a huge space for it, right? But there are a lot of challenges for them along the way, whether it comes to access, devices, time, just the support infrastructure in the schools they are in. It's just a difficult topic to start, or even the bureaucracy that they have to jump over just for them to get, say, curriculums on misinformation literacy approved, right? Takes years. In South Africa, it could take up to 10 years for you to get the curriculum changed to include media literacy, right? But if, again, then you decentralize and say, okay, it's going to take a long time nationally, what can we do as people at a lower level, the provinces, the districts? Then you start maybe circumventing the problem. You start introducing modules into, at a lower level. But the problem then means you define it as you wish. It's not standardized, and you're teaching. It's almost a Tower of Babylon. You're teaching a lot of things to a lot of people, but again, you don't have that common platform, right? So anyway, we've done studies as Africa Check on media literacy, and we found that in a number of countries, media literacy really is barely taught, right? Essentially, I did mention, right? And only in South Africa, in one province in South Africa, did we have an ongoing active focus on media literacy in terms of misinformation, right? But again, this was a project funded by Google. So it tells you probably how, if you bring in players in the information ecosystem, then what kind of things you can do. But again, by the time that moves from the Western Cape, that is the province that hosts Cape Town, for some of you who are familiar with South Africa, by the time that moves from the Western Cape nationally, I'm not sure how many years it would take, right? So we looked at 7 African countries, found media literacy was not taught. But we do know that a lot of young people especially experience a lot of disinformation online, right? Cyberbullying, hate speech, daily basis, right? And in Uganda, for example, we do know that sexual harassment in particular is alarming, in terms of what the young people have to deal with online. Burkina Faso, one of the countries we also looked at, the youth do not feel represented in the media, right? They tend to hold back their voice. They do not participate in society, in the democratic space, right? So again, lots of countries, lots of experiences, lots of different ways to look at media literacy. So probably we are then trying to have a discussion about what are the starting points that we can start for the entire continent, right? And probably as a practitioner in the media space, I hope that one day we can bring the African Union, to at least push media literacy in terms of what the young people experience in terms of misinformation, at least, push it, give it a higher sort of visibility internationally, on the continent rather, right? We've heard a lot about penetration around how the internet has obviously grown in bounds and leaps. We know it from our experiences. And so digital transformation has taken quite a big hold on the African continent, especially in urban settings, right? And it's probably, you might have heard a lot of the things that my colleagues have spoken in the last 2 days, again, we do need to get out of our urban towers, out of the ivory towers we tend to operate in as Africans. As fact checkers, not just as African fact checkers, right? But so that was I'm saying, there's a lot of connectivity, but again, it is a different experience. It's two-tiered. There's a lot of digital divides, if you may call them that, right? Between the people who are connected and the people who are not connected. The younger people tend to be more connected. I did say that's why I really enjoyed seeing the work that organizations are doing with the older people, because for us, it's a demographic that struggles and is the most vulnerable to misinformation, right? Anyone is vulnerable to misinformation, but the older demographic in the African continent tends to be probably, for various historical reasons. Connectivity is one, literacy is another one, right? Tends to be quite vulnerable, right? Different experiences. Ghana and Kenya, we have almost 2/3 of the young people tending to be connected, right? Spending a lot of time and data on the internet. Burkina Faso, a fraction of that, right? And there are countries which are even lower than that. So again, you cannot then have that approach where we're just doing media literacy for Africa, because again, you need to understand what every country is dealing with. So what does media literacy do then? Because then we are talking about media literacy. And remember, I did put a star. Every time I speak about media literacy, I mean misinformation literacy, right? We found from the experience of the few ventures we've seen, the few initiatives, that media and information literacy initiatives tend to increase participants' knowledge, criticism, and awareness of the influence of the media. And that is what most universities and high schools tend to teach, right? We've also found that those media literacy interventions that have more sessions have stronger positive effects. So it's better than cramming a lot of sessions in, a lot of lessons in fewer sessions, right? You want people to have as much exposure as possible to media literacy initiatives. We say as fact checkers, we can widen our fight against information by teaching audiences how to spot and resist information in the world, right? Misinformation, right, in the world, and work with others in the education sector, because then that is where you have probably more reach, more ability to impact society at a wider level. What have we also found, based on our research and our experiences when it comes to media literacy? Emphasize hands-on involvement, right? It's one thing for me just to give a lecture, give a theory talk, but people learn better by actively practicing misinformation literacy skills, right? So ask people to do a reverse image search, they'll remember that's a skill they've learned, right? However basic it is. We've seen a lot of people who, a lot of fact-checking organizations that have created games, that ask people to create fake news and maybe even see if they can spot it, right? That ability to have on the ball, if you may, learning really does stick a lot with, people you are trying to impact with media or misinformation literacy, right? Give audiences authentic examples. That's something else we've found works as a good best practice, right? Learn what audiences are dealing with, right? Where or what are the channels, what are the conduits of misinformation that they find they assailed by misinformation. Where are they consuming it from, right? Africa, I think, as in many parts, and I do use Africa loosely, I almost have to feel I put an asterisk every time I mention Africa. As with many parts of the world, WhatsApp tends to be major. And we've for example, then said we are going to look at innovative ways of trying to teach using WhatsApp, right? Someone asked me to speak about what's crap on WhatsApp, right? And you can see the emoji is a poop sign there, right? So we're trying to deal with the crap, that we find on WhatsApp, right? And when we launched this in 2018, the idea was to gather as much misinformation from audiences that we are dealing with, in the African part of the continent, and then see what are the trends, what are the patterns, and then from there, then we can decide how we are going to counter or at least fact check, right? Lots of iterations of this, probably we've seen, a lot of chatbots doing the same thing essentially, but the difference with what we do is, with what's crap on WhatsApp is, one, we're looking to reduce the circulation of or false claims on a platform that we know is dark. It's a closed messaging platform, so it tends to be quite a challenge for researchers, for fact checkers to work. You had that quite a lot this morning and probably even yesterday. We currently have 5,000 subscribers, and what we like about this is these are very engaged subscribers, right? It's one thing to have 20,000, 30,000 people, but again, if it's a silent audience, you're not sure what are the experiences, or they're not actively sending you misinformation, right? So we've had 5,000 for the last 1 year, and they tend to be very active. We send them tips, we send them ideas on how to fight misinformation. We teach them, how they can counter misinformation by sending a voice note to them every 2 weeks. So essentially then what that means is we get the information, we look for patterns, and then we go and sit in a recording studio, and then we're going to record a voice note show, which we are going to send back to. Is that the time? Wow. We're going to send back to the people who sent that misinformation to us, and then from there we get a lot of very actively engaged feedback from that. Has gotten quite some recognition internationally, including from the IFCN, which gave us a pot of money then. I'm not sure how far it goes now, but it was quite a big pot at the time, and so we used it to develop, right? And it's been quite useful for us to know what's traveling on the platform, right? More best practices from what we've learned allow plenty of time for exploration, for practice, for reflection, and also use multiple channels and involve as many stakeholders as we can. We've been trying to work with the South African government, Department of Education. In Kenya, same, different experiences, lots of interest, but the actual process of then taking this to schools is something that will take much longer than we anticipated, but you have to start that conversation, right? Because that's how just governments tend to work, especially in the part of the world that we find ourselves in. Some other examples we've done quite a number of these are case studies of some of the media literacy work we've done. We had Know the Facts, Get the Vax. So essentially, we tried to improve the quality of public debate and enable better decision making by empowering the public with media literacy skills. So it was a year-long project centered around COVID. So we produced all manner of media literacy products: text, video, podcast, visual formats. Then we partner with community radio stations, because I did mention yesterday, radios are big in Africa. So we partner with the community radio stations, various distribution partners, organizations that work in the civil society space that focus on education, and then you can send this. You use them to distribute, to disseminate the content, right? What did we, this was, for example, an example of one of the cards we use. We, again, have to be aware of data cost. We have to be aware of just how much connectivity is an issue, so you have to make it as simple as possible, right? Some of the outcomes, we found that the public felt more empowered, at least from the evaluation that we've done. We saw increased access to accurate information for people. These are the things, the holy grails we are looking for as fact checkers. And, we've seen students and journalists and the capacity of bloggers, sort of strengthened, right? So these are some of the organizations we partnered with. I see the time. I see you threatening me with the time. I shall try to move quicker. So these are just organizations that we've partnered with, which are in the communities, which have reach in the community, right? I did mention community radio stations were quite important. So these are some of the things that they shared. We're speaking about herd immunity. You want to teach them what's herd immunity when it was a thing during COVID. Then you send this, use these organizations, use radio stations to speak about it, and then see what the feedback is, right? Matter of fact was we did the same for elections in Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa, same format. And probably one of the lessons we've taken from this, you might see it's similar, but what we are saying is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's something I had mentioned in the panel previously here, right? Work with what you have. You don't really need to, start from scratch if you have material that you can use, right? So again, same objective. And I'll skip how it worked. Again, we did it for a year. And, we just send content that is representative to our audiences, right? And then, obviously, then we are going to sit there and we are going to say, what are we finding? What is the feedback? What are we getting back from the people we send, right? These are just examples of what we sent. you do want them to be colorful also. Something else we did was work with facts ambassadors. So we used people who are champions of facts. We actually, it was an open call on social media, who is interested in being a champion for facts. We received surprisingly thousands of applications from the 4 countries we work in, right? Very successful in Nigeria, and for an interesting reason, which was that we call this project Facts Ambassadors, right? So a lot of Nigerians like to be known as Ambassador so-and-so, right? So when they saw there was a call for ambassadors, then a lot of thousands of Nigerians applied because they wanted to be known as Ambassador Angie, Ambassador Moath, right? But, you know, it was very interesting, just the learnings you take from countries once you work with the countries, right? I did want to speak quickly to, this has gone on strike, right? Okay, cool. I wanted to include a radio fax project that we've been doing, which speaks to the need for theater. So we did this in Nigeria, we did this in Senegal. So we had actors going to radio stations and then enact a scene around, say, COVID, around elections, and then, you know, seed some misinformation, and then we ask people to call in and say what they would do differently, or if they can identify the misinformation that they had in that show, right? So very interesting. I'm wrapping up. Very interesting because, again, all right, so anyway, a few lessons, then half a minute. So one, we found that the best way to do media literacy, focus on the youth and in-school workshops. I've been saying that we do want to focus on the elder generation, so I've taken a lot from this. Africa, a lot of populations are offline. Please, we do not leave them behind. That's why we do theater. We go and you know, and I liked, I think it was Malitas, I think you did a bus tour, I think Carlos, I'm not sure if it was your organization. Yeah, that was a brilliant thing, you know, the bus tour thing. Huh? Focus on radio. I did say radio is big in Africa, social media, especially the mobile phone for young people. Moath, I am almost done. Yeah, focus on radio and obviously work with faith and community leaders, specialists, and youth advocacy groups. I'm not even finished. I'm just stopping in the interest of time. But ideally, I would like to continue the conversation with anyone who is interested about some of our learnings. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll have still 20 minutes for you. Sure. 好，谢谢Lee 的分享。那接下来我们要邀请法塔贝亚的执行长 Moath 为我们介绍。
Okay, hello everyone again. Okay, you give me the full 20 minutes. Thank you. All right. This is Moath. I'm CEO of Fatabyyano. I already introduced Fatabyyano yesterday, so just in a brief, we are the leading fact-checking and the first fact-checking organization in the MENA region. We cover 19 countries in the Middle East and North Africa. All right, so today I'm going to talk to you about media information literacy, but not any kind of media information literacy, especially the health media information literacy. But before that, I'm going to take it something out of scope a little bit, which is about for people who the first time to hear about the dihydrogen monoxide, which is considered the silent killer in our world right now. It's also called the hydroxyl acid. It's a major component of the acid rain, may cause severe burn, it may cause erosion also in natural landscape, accelerate rusting of many materials, and may cause electric failures. And now we found it in terminal cancer patients. Even Morgan Sinclair says it's the dangerous compound of the 21st century. So what I told you just now, we go to the street in Jordan, we make a booth, and we talk about the dihydrogen monoxide and encourage people to stand against it and to ban the dihydrogen monoxide. And in 1 hour, we were allowed to take 100 signatures. And 100 people, which was amazing. In 1 hour, 100 people stand against the dihydrogen monoxide. So, yeah. Let's go back to fact-checking. Actually, almost all what I just said right now, almost what we said to the people who we meet in the street is true, but it's misleading. What does that mean? The dihydrogen monoxide, like if di is 2, mono is 1, is actually water. Yeah, it's the chemical name of water, the dihydrogen monoxide. So the point is from what I'm saying that if misinformation and disinformation could mislead people to stand against water, misinformation and disinformation can mislead people to stand against anything. Do not surprise when people stand against vaccines that gonna treat the most terrific pandemic we ever meet, or the climate change solution, or 5G technologies, of any kind of technology. And what I shared with you right now, it's depend on 6 misleading tactics, which we actually, when we give media information literacy, we teach the mentees and the trainees how to spot these misleading tactics and strategies, and I will go over them in brief. For example, the first one, exaggeration. I'm saying the silent killer in our world, exaggerate anything. Misleading language. Instead of saying water, I'm going to say dihydrogen monoxide. The false authority, fake name, fake expert, fake award, fake anything, and sharing the statement. Emotional appeal, saying it's terminal cancer patient. Because it's true, it's water present in any kind of cell, even cancerous cells. So it's missing content, and at the same time, it's trying to take the emotion. Selectivity, I say it may cause severe burns, but I didn't say it should be above 100 degrees, or it's cause erosion of natural landscape, but I didn't say it's a rare condition and water is like the basic of the nature. The bandwidth effect, let's ban the dihydrogen, taking signatures and stand against this silent killer. So, and these 6 misleading techniques are present in any kind of misinformation. For example, in COVID-19, the exaggeration, instead of saying COVID vaccine could carry more dangerous than the virus itself. Instead of saying it's have minimal side effects, no, saying it's more dangerous. Misleading language, instead of saying injecting vaccine, saying injecting substance in your body. The emotional appeal, saying not just protect yourself from this vaccine, just to protect even your loved ones, protect your children, and use the emotional effect. The false authority, any name, as I said, any popular one, any even if someone famous in gaming or in anything, he could be talking about any medical thing. The selectivity, saying taking a single case of a side effect and make it the main case. Also, the bandwidth effects, okay, freedom fighters, calling the anti-vax people as a freedom fighters. Let's stand against this. Let's protect our rights. Okay, so this is the point, and this is the 6 techniques that we usually, when we do media information literacy, we teach them. And the point here, I'm going to talk in brief why infodemic wasn't possible 100 years ago. If we swift here, we can find the encyclopedia were including 30,000 pages, while now the Wikipedia, just an English version, have 60 million pages. So the point is that we are generating knowledge faster than our ability to consume it. I'm not gonna go even each number, but the takeaway here that we are generating knowledge faster than our ability to consume it. Okay, so, yeah. Sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna also to talk about why health fact checking. There's a lot of numbers, but I'm gonna talk one of these numbers. For example, the one on the above on the right, 1/3 of nutritional information about cancer on Pinterest is misleading, according to a meta-analysis study, which shows for example, if a cancer patient go and search for any nutritional information, there is a chance 1 on 3 to meet misleading or dangerous or harmful misinformation. The point here, the logic or the basic logic says, okay, we are now have advanced technology, now we have advanced healthcare system, so the pandemic is going to be less. But statistically and scientifically, it's appear to be the other thing. It's going to be the opposite. If we go back by time, we will find there was less pandemics, and while we are going by the time, the more recent, the more pandemics, the more epidemics, the more breakout disease that we are facing, which is something alarming. For example, a study for Duke University, they found like statistics now say large pandemics are more likely than we thought. It's even going to be more than the past. Like the study reveals that the probability of future pandemics include large-scale ones like COVID-19 is expected to triple in the coming decades. So the point here that the next, I'm sorry to share this sad news with you, but the next pandemic is gonna happen. We don't know when and where, but it's gonna happen. Because like it's a part of our nature and a part of our world. And that's why like a lot of people ask me why I left practicing medicine and I become a full-time fact-checker. During COVID, I found that the infodemic, it was like, it's not less dangerous than the pandemic itself. Like the health misinformation, it's not less dangerous than the disease or the pandemic or the COVID itself. So that's why like I stopped practicing medicine like during COVID, and from that till now I'm full-time fact-checker, because there's a lot of good doctors, but there is like, at least in the MENA region, there's a lot of good doctors, but there's not a lot of good fact-checkers. And as I said, now what we are teaching is decoding these misleading techniques and hundreds of other techniques. For example, we have given in the last few years more than 50 workshops online and in person in 7 countries. We are more 1 million followers that we are sharing awareness and media information literacy campaigns with them, and we have given training for 800 individuals, empowering them with all these skills and tools. Just a number that I would like to share with you. One of these numbers, and it's according to the MENA region, for example, that the percentage of people who are in internet penetration, which means the percentage of people who using internet just in 1 year increased 5%, which is one of the highest growth in the world. Which is mean that there's like millions of people have been exposed to internet for the first time in their life. And just imagine, and this is not just for media information literacy, about deep fake, about AI generated content. A lot of people who like, you're in your memory, you have like maybe in the last 20 years you watch hundreds or thousands of videos or deep fake videos or content, and you could fall in these misleading tactics. What about someone who just start using internet and in the second month he start like facing AI-generated content, deepfakes, misleading infodemics? So it's a big thing, which shows the huge need. There's another numbers about also the MENA region, but I'm gonna skip them for the sake of time. Maybe just the point that there's 200 million social media users, so there's a lot of a need. And that's why we have, other than health training, we have 8 types of training. For example, open source intelligence, election fact-checking, climate fact-checking, health fact-checking, AI-generated content, media ethics and media information literacy, social media monitoring, and fact-checking fake and scams on social media. But let's focus on one of them, on one of the recent projects that we work, which was the Global Health Fact-Checking Protocol Program, which was a support from Meta and IFCN. Elena was like she lead the program. So thank you, Elena. In this program, we provide fact-checkers with tools, techniques, and resources to investigate health misinformation and disinformation, and to promote media information literacy in health among users. And in this program, there was like a part of why we need health fact-checking protocol and health fact-checking guidelines and the program. But we can summarize this because the pandemic is coming, so we need to be ready. I'm not gonna go over these points, but we need to be ready. But let's talk about the practical one. I'm just gonna talk about like just a few points from this slide. We addressed 12 core aspects of the program of the health misinformation and health fact-checking, and the slogan for the program was from theory to practice, because we need to be ready. We gave 6 months of training and mentors. There was a skill training for 11 mentees from 11 organizations. We teach like the health fact-checking skills. I'm just going to talk about the bold the bold statements like health fact-checking tools and skills, effective reading of scientific articles, uncovering manipulation in health statistics and charts, psychology of health misinformation, why people believe in health misinformation so easily, how to identify misleading herbs and supplement claims, and strategies for debunking popular conspiracy. So for example, we teach like how to read health charts and how to detect misleading content. We also discuss how to, and it explain how to spot, how to read like scientific articles and how to spot fake statements or misleading misinformation inside, which could appear as a scientifically, but it is not, and how to detect them and how to read scientific article. For example, we also explain how to have monitoring for social media, especially in health misinformation during pandemics or during infodemics. So this is just an example, but it was like a 6-month training. During this training, we have 9 mentors from 9 different organizations. For example, Carlos from Maldita was one of the experts. Thank you. And we have like also like our colleagues from Data Leads, from Elsevier, from Science Direct, from Nature, from academics from many universities. And we hope to take also this program to a next level and have a larger scale of experts. And in this program, we have 19 incredible mentees. And Huan was like one of these mentees also. We have 11 mentees from India, Chile, UK, Slovakia, Portugal, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Nigeria, Burundi, Mexico, and Spain. And as I told you, the title was From Theory to Practice, the Health Fact-Checking Program. So yeah, thank you so much. And if anyone would like to discuss this program or health misinformation in general, or would like to be in contact, I would be happy to be in contact with him or her. So thank you again. And many colleagues reached me out yesterday, asked about the workflow that I showed yesterday. So I asked my colleagues to prepare the full version, because like the one that I showed yesterday, it wasn't the full version. It was like not the recent update, but this one is the most recent one. This is the one that we are currently used. So we can also, if anyone interested, I can share it with you. We can also translate it to English, so you can use it or benefit from it. So please feel free to reach me out at any time. Yeah. So and I have the 3 minutes. Thank you. I'm going to give it to you, Shah. 3 minutes. Thank you.
好，那这个论坛最后一位登场的讲者是台湾的南洋台湾姐妹会理事夏小娟老师。那我们有请夏老师。
Hello. I'm the last speaker of the last session of this 2-day event for a reason. Because it's my first time to participate in fact-checking activities. I will explain why. What I'm going to present, I attempted to say it's a baby step, but I decided it's not even a baby. it's not born yet. It's a very initial stage, and I'll explain why. I'll introduce myself first. I'm a professor at Shenzhen University, but I have been working with migrant issues for almost 30 years. I'm an advocate and organizer and researcher at the same time. And that's why Summer contacted me last year, toward the end, I think. And then we come up with this project that I'm going to present. Okay, so before I start presentation, I want to thank my colleague, Esther Chow, in the back. She's hiding herself because she's the one actually conducting the project and also make this PowerPoint. If there's any misinformation or disinformation, please contact her. It's her fault. Okay. This project is a media literacy project with Indonesian migrant communities in Taiwan. Okay. Okay. About TASA, the organization I've been working for more than 20 years, is the first grassroots organization, national organizations, organized by marriage migrants themselves. Marriage migrants are people, women from Southeast Asian countries and marry Taiwanese men. So they might migrate through transnational marriages. So we have members from Indonesia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, Burma, okay? And also we are activists. We are not just like a service-oriented organization. We campaign, we rally, we protest, and we were able to change a lot of immigration laws that affect the welfare and benefits of migrants, particularly marriage migrants. What else? Okay, we also, because these marriage migrants are usually from the lower class and they marry lower class men, farmers, small farmers, workers, or even unemployed. Okay, so they are in very precarious conditions. Okay, and so in order to reach out to them, organize them, we conducted various very creative methods, like a theater you mentioned earlier. We are doing podcasts now, and so we try all kinds of like music and all that to reach out and also do popular education. I say that we are new to this fact-checking and also new to media literacy, but we have something to do with you. We do literacy as well, but Chinese literacy. We started our empowerment process in 1995 through Chinese literacy because the first barriers they encounter to be integrated in the society is language barriers. They don't know anything about the language here. Okay, so to give you a general idea, this project is a collaboration of 3 organizations. TFC, of course, is the evil one that initiated it and put us all together. And TASA, because we have been existing for almost 30 years. I mean, from the Chinese program, the informal gathering of marriage migrants, and to the national organization. So we have somehow quite enough access to migrant communities in Taiwan. Not only marriage migrant community, but also migrant workers community. And then Mafindo is I'm sure the community knows, it's the fact-checking organization in Indonesia. So this is the tripod collaboration. To give you some idea about the Indonesian migrant community in Taiwan, Taiwan has about 23+ million population, and we have 1.33 to 4 million residents and foreign citizens. Legal residents and naturalized citizens. So those another 1.4 million, and about 20% of those are Indonesians. the Indonesian community is composed marriage migrants, the Indonesian women who marry Taiwanese, and also migrant workers, which is the largest population in Taiwan, Indonesian communities. And also some Indonesian international students. And these three groups encounter different problems in terms of misinformation and disinformation. Okay. The four major components of this project include media literacy and also media campaign. I will explain later on. And also try to build closer networking among the immigrants and migrants themselves, and also international networking, especially the tripod collaboration I mentioned earlier. Oh, okay. So what have we done so far? This is an ongoing project. So actually, I cannot say this is the impacts that we have, because we just started this project early this year. So that, like I said, we are not born yet. We are still in mommy's tummy. All right. The first step we did is that Summer provided us a training session to give TASA's officers, including marriage migrants from different Southeast Asian countries, Cambodian, Vietnamese, Burmese, Indonesian, because our region is that this media literacy is not only offered to Indonesian communities. We are dreaming big that this can be spread to migrant communities in general, so different nationalities. So we also try to educate TASA officers about media literacy. And then for the Indonesian volunteers, we have the online training with Mafindo that they give them the training in Bahasa Indonesia, okay, in their own language. So we contact several leaders or contact persons of the Indonesian community in Taiwan, including marriage migrants, including migrant workers, domestic workers, including local people, a local person who is very involved in the fishermen community, Indonesian fishermen communities in Taiwan. So they brainstorm and also trying to understand the situation that migrants encounter in Taiwan in regard to misinformation and disinformation. Then we have this, the first try. You can see that mascot. Okay, that's Esther Chow there. So what we did is they design a very cute game where they go to main station, Taipei main station, because that's the main place that many Indonesian migrants will gather on Sundays. By the way, they don't usually get Sunday off. So it's usually when they have day off, they're very busy. They go visiting friends, chatting, shopping. So it's very hard for us to conduct any training for them because they are so busy, right? So what they did is that there is a Indonesian grocery store at the basement of Taipei Station. A lot of Indonesians will go there on Sundays shopping. So they are like, stop them. Hey, my name is so-and-so. Would you like to play a game? And we will give you a gift, something like that. And then they started the game. They started with asking them, so can you give us your name? It can be a nickname, can be any fake name. And something you like, apple or pen or whatever, okay, 2 items. And then they will, let me show you. There are 6 types of information. Actually, these are the 6 types of misinformation and disinformation that we identified that are the target, the themes that migrants are easily cheated. Okay, including, the first one, upper left, is the line message that pretend to be governmental account, like you can do this and you can do that, and job scam. Okay, contact me, you can have a higher salary, you can have a better employer, which is illegal for the migrant workers in Taiwan, okay? They cannot change employers unless there are certain conditions, okay? They are not free to change employers. And romance scams, and housing scams, okay, you pay this down payment, you get this house. And then online shopping, like iPhone, cheaper one. And donation scams, okay, there is an incident, a boat sunk in Indonesia, so a lot of people die. Please help their family, blah, 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 and so asking for donation. These are the 6 topics that we identify that is common among migrant workers to be victims of the scams. So they asked them, so pick one card. Of course, they didn't see what's in there before. And so, for example, they will pick this one, iPhone. And do you think it's true or false? Is it real or not? And they will say either real or false or not true. And then they'll be asked, so how do you verify? How do you know it's for sure whether it's true or not? Okay, and then they will like initial, analysis. And then later on, my colleague will say, okay, these are some very useful tools for you to verify whether this information is correct or not. For example, Google Lens, that's something very useful. So they give them some tips about checking information. So it's easy. So they finish the game about, 3 minutes, something like that. And then, remember we promised them to give them a gift? That's the gift. A postcard, they print it immediately. The postcard with the name they given and the whatever object they give, like a watermelon. Okay, so another set quickly use that 2 items, their name and the object they choose, and use ChatGPT to create a fake news. So what I asked ChatGPT is to do is use these 2 items, the name and the object, to make an article about a scam in a short article under 75 words. So it's quick, right? So they will be surprised, wow. So it's so easy to create a fake news. So that's their gift, a postcard. So in this short game, to give them some idea, so they can be alerted of this fake news. And then we ask them to join our Facebook group. Okay. So create a Facebook group. So this is our Facebook in Bahasa, Indonesia. So we try to create a trustworthy network of Indonesian communities in Taiwan. Okay. Also, because I would say that most of the migrant communities, the migrants in Taiwan, have not been exposed to media literacy. So we created a podcast, which is free, right? Because TASA has our own podcast channel. So we upload this information to our existing channel. But we created several episodes right now. We already recorded, and it's in the process of editing now. So these episodes will be uploaded later in the second half of this year. So we have Bahasa version. We have 3 episodes. It's not only podcast. We also have YouTube version. So some absurd Indonesian misinformation in 2022. That's the episode. And another episode is we're featuring the leader of Mafindo to talk about media literacy. And we also try to introduce fact-checking and the importance of media literacy to the general public, particularly migrants, immigrants community. So we invite Summer to be one of our speakers in that episode. Okay. So this one is conducted in Mandarin. Okay. So what TASA is doing is trying to act as a bridge between Mafindo and the Indonesian communities in Taiwan. So we also created like a network, transnational network. These are some of our observations. One is that most scams occur between Indonesians. Actually, these scams are not written in Chinese. It's in their language. And as foreigners, as very underprivileged migrant workers in Taiwan, when you see your familiar language, you immediately feel, safe. But it's not the case. Actually, many people use that to make profits from that the information. Because the lack of proficiency in reading and writing Chinese, so they cannot have access to critical information in Taiwan. Because, for example, the government has done a lot about making the citizens aware of the scams, fake news, but they cannot be reached. So it's like the parallel worlds of the local citizen and migrants. They are there. There's no integration. So, and a lot of scams are using the sympathy of migrant workers. Because these fellow migrant workers are injured, they need money for hospital bill. And these accidents happen. So it's very believable for the migrants, okay? So the most common scams are about jobs opportunities and fundraising for misfortune fellow Indonesians, okay? And fake news and misinformation are predominantly related to political issues, but at the same time, it's becoming very divisive among the migrants because you vote for different parties. So our observation, not only in Taiwan, but also in other countries, for these organized migrant groups, they are divided because of the political stance. So actually, misinformation and disinformation are very dangerous for migrant communities, even for those who are organized, who are aware of the issues. And a lot of bad people, bad individuals take advantage of this information gap because they don't know the local language and they are far away from their home country. They don't know what happened in their home country, so they use that. Okay, because of the lack of understanding of Taiwanese policy and laws. Okay, and these bad situations actually happened. Okay, and a lot of internet influencers, Indonesians, actually become target of hackers because these migrants rely on the Indonesian KOLs, right? And so their accounts are hacked. So some scams using the hacked account to influence the migrants. That's something something new that we found recently. Our future plan. Oh, sorry, Esther, I forgot this moving thing. So we try to create and expand more trustworthy interactive platforms and try with. For the next half of the year, we'll partner with KOLs to establish a stronger sense of trust among the audience. And we try to reach out to more migrants, especially in the rural areas. We are going to rural areas to do the media literacy as well. And also international students. So we link with professors that are having a lot of international students. So we try to integrate fact-checking and media literacy to Chinese literacy. There are Chinese programs for migrant workers, so we will integrate this media literacy to Chinese literacy. And it's creating short videos to connect with the audience that we cannot contact physically. I think I'm done. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing. 我从昨天论坛开始一直跟大家介绍说是 IFCN 加7个组织，7个查核组织。我现在要更正一下我自己哦，原来是7+1，就是 Mfindo 大家的好伙伴 Mfindo 也透过夏老师一起来到这个国际盛会。好，那接下来进行那个问答的环节，那邀请大家可以使用荧幕上或者您的手册当中的 Slido 可以提出问题，关于media literacy， 关于媒体识读教育、媒体识读因为刚刚透过讲者们的分享，其实蛮多团体在做媒体识读相关的工作，不过可以从刚刚的分享当中，我们可以听到，其实查核组织做的是基于事实查核的媒体识读，那这也是非常重要的一块，就是跟其他的 NGO、NPO 可能是不同的取径，但也是非常重要的。好，那我就先运用主持人的特权，我先提问一下，就是首先对2位国际讲者提问哦，就是在您的国家或您所属的区域，您认为要推广媒体素养、推广媒体识读最困难的一个、最需要突破的一个关卡会是什么？比如说是地域上，国土很广大，或者是说国家之间，可能立场的不同，或者是使用的语言的不同，或者是种族上，或者信仰、宗教信仰上，哪一个会是最难突破的？跟我们如何去克服这样的难关？我们先对2位讲者提问，那看。Lee 先帮我们回答吗？
Thank you. And you almost answered it in terms of the how much space you have to cover, right? I did say we have a lot of countries on the African continent, and each has its own national characteristics. Take Nigeria, 100 and something, 50 languages, and you operating predominantly in English at the moment, and then you have to translate that, and you have to then make sure that this material takes into cognizance just, for example, if there are some communities that are really influenced by religious leaders, as you actually mentioned it, right? Others, traditional leaders are key if you want to get messages across to them. So just understanding, one, the dynamics in a country, but also then having to look for material in languages that you think is the best spend of your resources at the moment. So language is a big thing in any of the countries we work in, because there's just so much that you have to take into consideration when coming up with media literacy material.
Oh, okay. So I totally agree with Lee. I'm not going to repeat the same points, but I'm going to add 2 points. Maybe the penetration rate that I mentioned, especially this is present in Africa and in the MENA region, because they are developing countries. There's a lot of people who's being connected to internet for the first time, which is put a lot of responsibility on us. On media information literacy, and they exposed to different kinds of misinformation and disinformation. The second point, I can say, like, a lot of people don't know what is media information literacy. Like we start from the scratch. Maybe that's one of the biggest challenges, that a lot of people don't know what is the media information literacy, why we need it, and it could be when we teach sometimes people or content creators the concept media information literacy, it could be the first time they ever heard about this concept. So maybe these the 2 big challenges. And another challenge that maybe also in the MENA region, that the younger generation, like you have 60% of the population, 60% is below 30 years old, who are using internet a lot. There's a lot of, maybe they could use internet, the statistics says it could be 8 to 9 hours per day sometimes. And at the same time, they have never been exposed to any kind of media information literacy. They go to the practical part directly, even for AI. Like, they haven't go to theoretical how to use AI, dangers of AI, how the ethical point of view, but they go directly to use ChatGPT, generated content, creating photos. So yeah, that's a challenge. There was no theoretical part. Like there is no step, like go to the last step from the first point.
No, I did want to add, facts are they're boring if you think about it, right? And so creating content that is engaging for various audiences can be a challenge. And this is why I'm really in awe of what you're doing, Prof, in terms of the engaging content that you have built for such a vulnerable community, right? So just coming up with ways that keep people engaged to the facts, which, let's face it, there's some of the driest things you will come across can be a challenge. So it's always, you always have to iterate, always try a few things, experiment, and most organizations may not have the resources, dedicated resources to always be thinking of the next step or trying to keep up with the latest trend or social media platform. So I think resources also is a challenge.
Then the next question I would like to pick. 我挑刚刚那个比较多人选择 How do you measure the effect of your media literacy program? Maybe it's for the 也是请两位讲者先回答，因为夏老师的计划还在非常初始的阶段。好，也请两位讲者How do you measure the effect or impact of your media literacy project? Maybe start with Lee or start with Moath.
So I think one way we've done this is to make sure whenever we start a media literacy training or project, we do a baseline measurement, right, of what do the audience know about what you're about to teach, right? And then after you've done the media literacy project, you also do a survey at the end to see if anything has changed in what, in the perception of the issue you're trying to tackle. So establishing that baseline before you go into media literacy project, and then measuring, at the end of it, while they're still in the room, because once they've left the room, it becomes difficult to really, measure, impact, right? So that baseline at the start, and then see if anything has changed, if the understanding has improved of the issues you're trying to tackle at the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like one of the best ways that we do at the finish of any course, that there is like a quiz or assignments that to show or to understand or to know their ability to spot misinformation or disinformation. And another way is also a lot of times when we finish course and we want to take it to a next level or a next group, the mentees that we work with become mentors or become trainers, or they expand the word to another to their community or to the circle around them. So yeah, this is the main 2 points. And I know, like it's as Lee said, it's boring. Usually the media information literacy is boring, and there's a lot of challenges. But one of the most optimistic things that there's hundreds of studies that study groups who have been taking media information literacy, and they study their ability to spot misinformation and disinformation. A lot of study the mentees' ability to spot misinformation before the course or before the training and after the training. And there is difference between the results, but one in common that always there is increase in their ability to spot the misinformation and disinformation. In some studies, it's like the triple, sometimes in double, sometimes like increase in 10%. But the fascinating thing that's always there is increasing in their ability to spot the misinformation and disinformation. So that's like an optimistic thing that we can take away.
好，谢谢两位讲者的回答。那接下来有一个提问是针对 TASA 的提问，这题我们就请夏老师来作答哦。因为 TASA 也是耕耘在移工跟移民这一块着力非常久。那这个问题是说，您觉得在雇主在对于移工族群上的宣导能够扮演什么样的角色？
I think this one we can expand it a little bit more, not just the employer's role for helping migrant workers, but also Taiwanese citizens. How can they help migrants or immigrants, those who are not familiar with the language? For example, they can get wrong information about the policies and laws. Okay, many migrant workers got information saying that you can get a higher paying job. But this one is against the policy and the laws. They cannot easily change employers. So if employer has a good communication with the migrant workers, usually because the information they receive in their own language, the local citizen cannot understand, but you can ask them to interpret what is the essence of this information. If this is related to the laws and policies, the local people, including employers, can help check accuracy. If they cannot find the laws or policies themselves, they can reach out to the local NGOs that work for migrants or immigrants issues. That's one. And also, I think it would be nice if the employers or local people help them connect with the fact-checking organizations, like Mafindo, so they can be connected with their own communities, or with TFC. If they have information they want to check, then they have somewhere to go. I think that's the two basic things that the local people can help the migrants.
好，谢谢夏老师的回答。那接下来我看到有一个提问是中文提问，我待会会把题目念出来。我想是提问给2位国际讲者哦，就是长辈啊，年纪比较长的人，他们的观念通常比较不容易改变。那我们在台湾我们会形容说，这些长辈他们在社会上他们是非常有经验的人，不过他们在网络世界其实也不是那么的有经验，可能是初踏入网络世界，可能跟一般年轻人或小朋友没有什么太大的差别，但他们可能对自己比较有自信啦，观念比较不容易改变。那我们要如何去有效的触及，或者怎么样对这些人，在想法上有什么可以做得更多，或者是获得他们的支持 ？Which of you would like to?
Like it's a challenging, yeah, and you need to keep digging, keep working, keep trying. Like this is the best way. And one of the funny stories that happened with me, that the family group on WhatsApp that usually the main source of misinformation, and one time my aunt reached me out and she asked me to do a fact check. She asked me can you teach me how to do this, how to reach something if it's about a medical fact check, and she asked me, I want to learn how to do this. And it was fascinating for me because she shared a lot of misinformation. So when she reached me out, and I teach her how to do this, and she also spread the word to many groups of her friends. It was fascinating. I believe if you change your aunt, you can change the world. You need just to keep trying and to keep digging. And surprising, many statistics and many studies shows that the youth are sometimes more eligible to believe in conspiracy theories more than elders. And which is again opposite that we all expect and we all learn, but the youth also have more ability to believe, especially in conspiracy theories. So it's the misinformation usually it's not for specific age or specific age, but anyone could be a victim of misinformation. But the point is to keep trying, keep digging, showing the good examples, and yeah.
Maybe there's a short follow-up. How many years to change your end? Let's see how many years we could change the world. How many years to change your end to join the fact-checking?
Yeah. No, it's only just one fact check. It's she only do one fact check, but it took 8 years.
So it might take long to change the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the answer.
Thank you. I think I'll also jump from Moath's last point that anyone can fall for misinformation, right? But the person who asked the question is accurate in terms of the elder demographic tends to be probably more vulnerable, and from our part of the world, it's for historical reasons, literacy is not as high, or they've just newly come online, right? But also, I think the one thing that we have realized is there's a big network effect on a lot of the social platforms they are in, right? WhatsApp is one, so what we do is then we design shareable content that is in a way indirectly targeted at the elder generation, the parents, the relatives of the people who we know are going to really receive that information. So we know a big part of our demographic is the young people, right? But then you are sending media literacy information that is indirectly targeted at the people, and we then tend to see it coming back in the community groups that we are part of. Someone says, I saw this, and someone says, no, don't fall for this misinformation because of X and Y and Z, and we know our material is traveling. So we rely a lot on the network effect of just sharing shareable content that can be shared with the parents. And I've seen it also. I think I have personal experience. My mother-in-law used to be merchant chief of misinformation, right? I hope she's not listening to me at the moment, or she doesn't get to hear this, but she's changed. Now, anytime she sees something that is suspicious, she sends it to me first, right? And I'll tell her, we've fact-checked this, or this is how you'd go about it, right? So that network effect really is, I think, the longer-term approach, because you're going to struggle to get anybody, lots of elderly people in a room, and that's why I've actually really enjoyed seeing the fact-checking organizations in Taiwan that are working with elderly people. I would love to try some of these, tactics I've learned, when I go back with them, but I think, sharing that content indirectly with them, and then, making sure that, you create content that is relatable to the elder generation.
Okay. 好，我们这个环节差不多接近尾声。那我在夏老师这边一个问题，然后再一个问题给两位讲者，那我们就要结束这个环节。对夏老师，TASA这边的问题是，有听众觉得去杂货店直接接触一般民众是很有创意的一个做法。那TASA 也有在做 podcast。那请问TASA 的计划就是在这个媒体计划跟策略是什么？然后又有用多少的人力？那最后一个问题，我们留给两位国际讲者是 ：Are fact-checking organizations in South Africa and Jordan integrate into curriculum of formal schooling? Is it trusted by the school? 好，那我们先请夏老师回答，那再请两位接着做回答，我们就来到这个环节。
For our project, we only have one staff, Esther, there. We highly rely on volunteers. At the beginning, we have 2 Indonesian intern students from with TFC. They help a lot at the beginning to create this the game, and then we rely on volunteers from TASA and also from our network. That's how we do this project. So if people in the audience would like to volunteer, we'll be very happy. and about the strategy for media, we will contact some of our KOL, like a radio host who is very popular among the Indonesian communities, to have some program. And also we have already conducted, have some contacts that we will go to their gathering of the Indonesians. And in their event, we'll introduce our Facebook group and also our link to podcast, because we create a podcast or video. If they don't watch, it's no use, right? So we will integrate with in their activity, and so introduce our link so they can watch or listen to our program. And because we have no money for other expenses, that's how we try to maximize our networking.
Okay, and then one last question.
The question was if fact-checking is integrated in the curriculum of formal schooling, and in a nutshell, no, right? We have done a survey, research into 7 African countries, and only one was trying to teach media literacy in schools, right? And that was South Africa. But even that is really a drop in the ocean, if you think about it, because first we then say, okay, we are trying to get a module on misinformation literacy into the curriculum of schools. How can we go about it? Kenya, it's going to take 10 years to even think about changing the curriculum at a national level. Nigeria, let's not even go there, right? South Africa, 3-5 years, and what they're saying is, first, it needs to be adapted to the resources that are available, right? The curriculum is already overcrowded in South African schools, and I'm talking of the primary schools, I'm not even going to the high schools, right? So by the time you add a module on fact-checking on media literacy, and then you have to train, you have to offer support, you have to think of the data constraints and all other manner of constraints, it's going to take a long time, right? But we've started those conversations, and we've met with the Department of Education in South Africa. At least that conversation is going, because we know once we get that, however long it takes, then we're really going to move the needle in terms of improving media literacy among the young people, because that is a demographic that really gives us the best chance of pushing back against misinformation, right? So in a nutshell, no, to answer the question, but then you have to start those conversations, and just getting into the same room with educators, with administrators is a mission, but we've managed to do that so far. And I think we're quite delighted that we have the ear, however long it will take, a decade, but we've started that conversation.
Yeah, like exactly the same situation. Fact-checking not present at all in the school curriculum. Media information literacy, like just in very minimum, not schools, but in university, in option, just small numbers of, just like you can count them on one hand, who have like optional media information literacy programs, which is like as a drop of another ocean. So yeah, but on the other side, the misinformation is on internet, on social media. Fact-checking could be on social media and fact-checking and media information literacy. So at this point, maybe the best way to keep working with students directly by by workshops, by programs, by something like the IFCN have incredible project like, which is the Teen Fact-Checking Network. Like this is incredible ways to also reach students. So this is the point until now. Like, unfortunately, no, there's no in the curriculum.
Sorry, I did want to add, maybe it's easier to do this in universities. We've seen more interest in journalism schools, universities, because they're in charge of their own curriculum, so they can, review it quickly. But again, having almost a uniform understanding of what to include in such a module, obviously, is a next step. But we found much more fertile ground with universities because they have more autonomy over their own curriculums.
Thank you for the good sharing for this session. And following up, we will have our close ceremony. So thank you again. 给台上的讲者一点掌声，谢谢大家。
我接下来会用中文。那我想邀请 Angie 代表，他是新任的 IFCN 的总监。那参加了我们2天的论坛活动之后，我想 Angie 可以来对台湾还有来参加的参与者，就是来谈你的感想，还有。
Sure. Thank you so much for 2 wonderful days of meetings and discussions hosted by the Taiwan Fact Check Center. And especially thank you to Summer Chen, who organized us and hosted us. She and her team made us feel so welcome and so comfortable. And after a hard day of talking about fact-checking, she showed us the beautiful city of Taipei, and we've just enjoyed our time here so much. Many of us, it was our first time visiting. So thank you again, and thank you to your wonderful team. We talked about so many important topics in these past 2 days. We talked about fact-checking politics. We talked about cross-border fact-checking. We talked about AI and media literacy. And we talked about the fact-checking ecosystem in Taiwan, including the challenges and opportunities here. And this was very useful for me and my colleagues from around the world to learn about the fact-checking ecosystem in Taiwan. We're very excited to take these learnings back to our network about the important work you're doing here. And I celebrate what we accomplished, and I recognize that we did not get to everything. We still have work to do. But I hope the time we've spent together, we have forged connections and ongoing conversations that will last for years to come. So in closing, I would just like to say, may the truth shine and show us the way to our next steps, and may facts lead us forward. Thank you. Thank you so much.
台湾事实查核，抱歉，我怕我太紧张也太感动，所以我有准备了讲稿。台湾事实查核中心成立于2018年，那到今年刚好是我们满5周岁。那5周岁的时间，能够在这个时间点办一个全球视野的论坛，我想有非常大的意义。那谢谢。台湾事实查核中心在2019年办了第1场的亚洲论坛。那在当时，我们只有4个查核记者，还有一个像阿信一般的行政长，就是常瑶姐。那在我们前任的董事长胡元辉老师的领导之下，还有董事会的全力动员跟支持，我们在这么小的组织架构里面，已经举办了一个国际的论坛，连结亚太地区。那今天胡老师也在这边，请大家一起给胡老师一个掌声。谢谢胡老师设计出来的架构。那在过去几年的论坛，很可惜我们因为疫情在线上参加，那我们维持了跟亚太地区，甚至在乌俄战争之后，我们连结了乌克兰的查核组织。那今年的亚太论坛，在我们董事长罗世宏老师还有整个董事会的支援之下，我们借着全球查核高峰会的在首尔举办的这个便利，所以邀请来美国、阿根廷、巴西、南非、西班牙、香港，还有中东地区的查核组织，把他们从首尔邀请到台北。他们在首尔调整了时差，所以在台北可以这样子长时间的跟我们一起工作。那这一场的盛会，我们也可以说它是小型的Global Facts 全球查核高峰会。那谢谢所有的国际讲者帮我们分享了他们非常棒的见解，那也非常感谢他们愿意远道而来，在疲惫的长途旅行、长时间的会议里面，能够每天聚精会神的跟我们一起在这个论坛分享他们的见解。所以第一个感谢，请大家一起拍手，就是谢谢这些远道而来国际的讲者。好，那第二个感谢，也许应该是讲者来对大家说，我想要感谢在这边参加的每一个人，谢谢大家这2天全神贯注，从早上到下午，每一个场次，当我们在台上往下看的时候，全部所有人的眼神都是专注的。你们的专注也燃烧了所有讲者的热情。那比如说，昨天来自西班牙查核组织的 Carlos 就告诉我说 ：“Summer， 我没有想到，不只是 TFC 这么用功，是整个台湾社会这么用功。”谢谢大家坐在这边，让他感觉到台湾。我们一起谢谢自己。那在这个论坛上。我想借着因为大家论坛的认真，所以也让所有的讲者看到了台湾，感觉到了台湾，实实在在的了解亚太区发生了什么事，台湾的处境是什么。 那讲者也告诉我，原来台湾有这么强韧的事实查核伙伴生态系，有这么棒的，有这么多关注公共议题的研究者、官员，大家一起同心协力的在学习，在一起分享跟交流。那这些讲者也告诉我们，他们从论坛里面，从大家的分享里面得到了很多有趣的启发。那讲者也甚至跟我们说，从此之后，他们理解到的台湾不再是国际新闻的台湾，字面上的台湾，而是人，就是我们。那谢谢大家，谢谢大家，我们这2天非常辛苦的共同学习跟共同思考。那第3个感谢，当然我们要再次感谢这次的活动赞助者西敏寺民主基金会，谢谢你们。那最后呢，第4个感谢哦，我想要借这个机会，请大家鼓励我们的编务团队。那在亚洲论坛的这个期间，从筹备，然后到今天，那包括我中间，其实在首尔出差，那所有驻守在台湾台北的这个编务团队，其实正在打现在很重要的政治议题巴比妥的仗。所以编务团队是一步一脚印，认真的来做查核。那这一个政治的仗其实很难打，那有非常多的争议，所以最近呢，我们被贴了各种标签，有蓝的标签，有绿的标签，有查太慢的说法，也有查太快的说法，那各种质疑贴标签都有。那我想对编务团队来说，在这么争议的政治环境里面，我们要把口水搁置下来，认真写出就事论事的文章，就事论事的查核报告，需要对真实有一种坚持，也需要有一种洒劲跟勇敢。那我想我们的编务团队需要大家一起来温暖的支持跟热情的鼓励，请大家给我们的编务团队一个掌声。谢谢我们的查核记者都在现场，我们的副总编Claire 伟霆也在现场。好，那也谢谢跟我一起筹备整个论坛的惠安，谢谢。好。那最后呢，我想大家在这2天的论坛哦，就是我们一起感谢最辛苦的行政团队，谢谢他们所有的细节，所有最贴心的安排，让大家在这个论坛里面感觉到很舒适、很贴心。谢谢最辛苦的行政团队。好，谢谢。这2天的论坛哦，其实议程非常的紧凑。那很可惜，我们请国际讲者远道而来，所以我们塞了满满的功课给他们。我们希望他们每一个人都有足够的时间，能够把他们的简报，把他们在做的事情带过来。那很可惜的，相对的，我们谈话的时间、交流的时间非常非常的有限。那我们期待的是，其实我们在这个论坛里面已经建立了友谊，我们已经相互的认识，我们知道彼此都在努力什么，我们知道我们有共同的梦想、共同的理念。那我很期待的是，大家能够透过这样子的联谊跟交流，未来能够产生更多合作的可能性，更多一起努力的可能性。那透过我们彼此的理解，当我们在谈很多想法的时候，我们能够很快的就激荡出火花，那让事实查核还有媒体的生态能够共同的成长，共同的思考，然后我们也能够面对一个眼前最难最难的不实讯息的挑战。那今年很感谢大家，就是2023年我们终于摆开了线上，开始实体见面。那今年也 事查核中心满5周岁，我们已经在思考下一个5周年，所以今年非常的有意义。那谢谢大家在这2天的论坛里面跟我们一起，然后跟我们一起用力的思考事实查核的可能性。谢谢大家，谢谢国际讲者，谢谢自己，谢谢行政团队，还有我们的编务团队，谢谢大家。